Alright, so in this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set up, program, and test your Bally Midway Xenophobe. Okay? As you can see, we have it powered off right now, and that's because we need to do the programming for the dip switches, alright, which is also part of the setup. So, the key thing to have is your Xenophobe manual, okay? I got lucky and mine actually came with an actual manual. You can download these manuals right off Google for free, okay? So you don't need to worry about having to order one of these. You can if you want. It's not really a big deal. I mean, the manual is really great. Besides having all the schematics that you need and everything, and of course a flow chart for your Wells Gardner K7000. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that right off the bat here for you. Doesn't look like it. Oh yeah, there, look, see, you got a flow chart right there for your K7000 that comes with the with the game itself. That's the typical monitor. But the manual is great because, I mean, it goes through every little detail. It goes through your game descriptions. It goes through all the different enemies that you have and their points and attack styles. It goes through all the items you can find. It goes through all the levels you have in the game. You know, I mean, everything you can imagine, okay? But what we need to look at is this. And these are your dip switch settings, okay? Now, I'll take a second and I'll put up on the screen a, I guess you could say a still shot or basically like a screenshot, I guess you could say, of the dip switch settings here. They're really simple. It's very basic. 99% of your programming is right here. Actually, I'm sorry, 100% of your programming is in the dip switches with this game. The other thing I'm going to show you has nothing to do with actual setting or programming. It's more like testing and stuff like that. So, one of the first things we need to do is come on down inside the cabinet to the back. I've already got the doors removed, as you can see here. And luckily for me, I actually have the same dip switch setting chart right here stapled inside the game. Alright? Now, here's your main game board for Xenophobe. It's just one board that does your main game stuff, okay? You got other boards too. You got an amplifier, you have a sounds good board, basically your audio board, and then you got a power supply board, and then you got your bottom board, or basically your power brick, where your transformer is. This transformer is primarily used for your monitor, because you got to have an isolation transformer for your monitor, okay? But anyway, that's the dip switch you need to work on. There's only one on the entire board, okay? Right here. Let me reposition my hand a little bit. Alright guys, so I'm sorry about that. I can't really get it focused like the way I want it to be. But just so you know, starting from the very top of the dip switch, going down is 1 on the top, 10 on the bottom. Okay? Now when you actually look at the dip switch options, switch 1, switch 2, and switch 9 are not used for anything. So you can have those set either way you want. Alright? Now, looking at it face forward like I'm doing here, if the dip switch is to the right or towards the number itself, that means that switch is on. And if the switch is opposite to the number, that means it's off. Okay? So, again, switch 1 and 2 aren't used. So on mine, they're off. It doesn't really matter. Now, dip switch number 3 controls your gameplay mode. If it's off, there's no free play, meaning you need to actually put coins in. If it's on, you're on free play. Mine is currently set to on. So number 4 basically doesn't matter for me, because 4 is the coins per life unit, alright? If it's off, it's 1 coin, and if it's on, it's 2 coins. Meaning, it's 25 cents for a credit or 50 cents for a credit. Okay? And mine is currently set to off. And again, that's just so if I decide to put it on no free play, it's just 1 coin to play the game. Alright? Let's see here. What's our next one? 4? No, that's 5. Alright, 5. 5 is our life units. Okay? Off is 1,000 points, and on is 2,000 points. Mine is set to on, so 2,000 points. Basically what that means is your life points, or life unit, is how much your HP is, how much your health points are. Because when you look at your gameplay, and you look at your life units, that's the amount of life you have as a player. And mine automatically starts at 2,000 points. And as you take damage, that 2,000 is going to reduce all the way until you get to 0. The max you can receive, and you can't program this, but if you can get it through getting various items and getting bonuses, is 9,999 points. Okay? Our next one is switch number 6. I have that set to off. And number 6 sets your attract sequence sounds. So, off means you have sound, and on means you have no sound. And what this means is when the game is in attract mode, nobody's playing it, it'll randomly have sound. So as the game is going through the attract mode, you'll be able to hear various sounds, like the actual gameplay sounds of shooting guns and so on and so forth, alright? Our next one is for switch 7 and 8. And that's our difficulty setting, alright? I have mine as 7 off and 8 on. What that means is I'm set to easy mode, alright? If you have it as 7 on, 8 off, that's hard. 7 and 8 both off is medium. As you already know, off for 7 and on for 8 is easy. And on for 7 and 8 is also medium. I'm not sure why they have 2 different mediums, but whatever. And like I said before, number 9 is not used at all. Number 10 is your video freeze mode. Now, mine is set to off. The reason being is off is normal video. On is freeze video. Now, what that setting's supposed to help you with is if you're having, like, say, graphical issues. You can go ahead and play a game through, go through your attract mode, whatnot, and when you come to an area with a graphical issue, you can freeze the video by turning switch number 10 on, and it'll literally freeze the game. So you can kind of like go through the PCB and start testing various different chips, especially your video chips or your ROM chips or your RAM chips, and see if there's an issue there that might be causing those graphical issues, okay? Now, if you look at the option switch settings, basically the factory recommends everything to be in the off position. But, again, factory is going to recommend that based off the idea of you putting on location. And if you're going to just have the game in your house, do whatever you want, okay? So, now that we've gone through the basic dip switch settings, I'm going to go ahead and show you the next part, which is a test menu within the game itself. So I'll have to power the game up, and I'll show you how you get into that test menu and go through it, alright? So we'll be right back. Alrighty, so we've got our game powered up now, okay? And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and cut the main light switch. You can see the screen better that way. Okay? Now, I got my phone flashlight out, so it's not going to be the best, but you want to go into your coin door, open it up. And on the left-hand side, you're going to find this panel right here. Alright? That top red push button is your service credit button. Okay? The middle slide switch is your test switch. And the very bottom potentiometer right there, that's how you adjust your volume. Alright, so if you need to lower the volume or increase the volume, you adjust that switch right there. Alrighty. What we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and we're going to slide our test switch over. And that's going to immediately bring us into this mode right here. So, as you can see, we have a few different test cycles to go through. We have our bookkeeping, our switch test, our option settings, our convergence grid, and our self-test. Now, before we start going through some of these, I'll explain a little bit, alright? Obviously, bookkeeping, that's all the data that's been collected from the game being played. So you're going to find how many coins were put in, and how many deaths you've had, and so on and so forth, okay? So it's your basic bookkeeping for if you're on location. Then we have a switch test. And the switch test is what it sounds like. You can actually test all the switches on all 3 joysticks, and then of course in your coin doors and so on and so forth, alright? Option settings, that can kind of be a little confusing. But basically what this is nothing you can change. It's just showing you on the screen what your dip switches are set to. Alright, so you can kind of use that as a way to confirm that the game program itself sees, understands, and accepts the different settings you have on your dip switches. The convergence grid is going to come up as like a crosshatch kind of pattern. So if you need to fix your color patterns or your convergence patterns or anything like that, you can use that to help you make adjustments to the physical CRT monitor. Now, self-test is a test that's actually done whenever you power the game up itself, but it goes through the inbound computer and makes sure that your RAMs and your ROMs and all that are working the way they're supposed to be. And if they're not, it's going to actually come up and say which RAM or ROM and its location is not working or failed the test. And you can actually continue your testing on your workbench from that point. Now you can see it says press the service button for the next test. And that service button is the button, that little red push button down below in the coin door, okay? So, right now we have no coins in the game. Alright? And game time per coin is 0. The reason this is set this way, or is showing this, is because it's set to free play. There's no point in actually showing you anything about coins coming in or how long you're playing the game, because you're not on location and it's not set for coin play. So this does nothing for you when you're on free play. But if you're on location, this is a great way to actually kind of tailor your game to figure out if it's making enough money for you so you can get rid of the game or reset how much you're charging for the game. Now to go to the next one, you press the service button again. Alright, now this is our switch test. Basically, you see how it has a left player, a center player, and a right player. That corresponds to your joysticks and your colors. Left player red, center player yellow, right player blue, and the colors match on the screen. So whenever you push any kinds of buttons on your left, center, or right, or if you hit your coin, then that off is going to switch to an on. The off represents an open switch, meaning there's no contact or continuity between one pole and the next pole of the switch. But when you activate that switch, let's say we take player 1 and go up, look at that. I also hit left at the same time on that. It goes to on. Left, right, down. And you hear that sound that's being played too. That's also kind of giving you an indicator that the sound is working as well. Same with your trigger, and you have your left button and your right button. I'm not going to hit the coin switch, I'm not too worried about it. But this is a great way to make sure that your joysticks are actually working properly. So if you got somebody saying, oh, you know, my switch or my joystick isn't working on this, you can check and make sure the computer is actually working properly with that. Okay? So that's how you do the switch test. Now let's press the same service button again. Now it goes to our option settings. As you can see, dip switch number 3 is on, so free play. And then we got our dip 4, which, as you can tell, it's dark. And the reason why it's dark is because we're on free play. So that's basically eliminating that from the computer on the game board from using it. And then we got dip 5, which is our life units, 2000. Dip 6 is our track music, which is enabled. And then dip 7 and 8 are set for an easy difficulty. Alright. And that's your option settings there. So we'll go to the next one, which is our convergence test. See how we get this big grid up here? The white lines at screen edges, all that kind of stuff. Red corner visible. We have our red corners visible. Like, our monitor doesn't need color adjustments, convergence adjustments, focusing, or anything like that. It's actually in really good shape. When you look at it, everything's nice and crisp. It's squared up. We don't really have to worry about it. The only thing I'd say is, like, we got a little bit of, like, bleed over or crossover or cut off, I guess. Cut off right here and right here. But it doesn't affect the gameplay, so I'm not worried about it at all. Our final test is our self-test. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This one's the color bar test. Now, same thing. This is how you adjust your colors to make sure all your colors are matching up. And everything is actually just fine. I'm not worried about this at all. The game itself plays just fine, but if you have color issues, you can go to your color bar test and use that to adjust the colors on your CRT itself. So, you know, your red, green, blue cutoffs and drives and everything, you can use this to work on that. You can also use these numbers and everything here to work on your focus. So if you got a little bit of a fuzzy screen, you can adjust the focus and use these letters and numbers to make sure your focus is the way you want it to be. So our next one should be the self-test mode, if I'm correct. We'll find out. Yep. This takes about 15 seconds. Yeah. So we can clear our bookkeeping. Okay. Alright, so I double checked quick in the manual. Because it's not going into an automatic screen of saying, hey, this switch is bad, or that's bad, or this is bad, that's why it doesn't do anything but this and only allows you to do the clear all bookkeeping. The reason being is the game is automatically tested for all this stuff, and it does it right when you're powering the game up as well too. So with that being said, and there's no warnings popping up during power up, and there's no warnings popping up right now except for this warning thing telling you you're about to erase all your bookkeeping, which again, unless you're on location, doesn't really matter. The game's fine. There's nothing wrong with the RAM or the ROM, so we're good to go. And to get out of this, all you gotta do is just press that same little service button again. And here we are. So that's basically it. To get out of this, you just gotta slide your switch, your service test switch over, and it's gonna go back to the gameplay. Just like so. But alright guys, so that's how you go ahead and program and test your Xenophobe arcade machine. When we get a chance to get back to the Xenophobe, I'll show you how to go through and open up your control panel. So if you ever need to work on any of your actual joysticks, you'll know how to do that. And then I'll also show you on the next time we work on Xenophobe, we'll do kind of like a review or an overview. We'll show you how to take your glass off for your monitor. So if you need to pull your monitor out to do any service, you know how to do it. And also how to take your marquee out, so if you ever need to service your lamp or even work on anything else up above. But until then, have a good one, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.